All right. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you all having me today. It's an honor to be here. Mike and I have been talking about this moment for maybe a year or so. Like Mike said, he and I went to high school together. I'm not going to give you my whole resume, but I'll give you just a little bit of background so that you have a clue what I've been up to and who I am, why somebody came and moved your cheese today and asked me to come speak to you. I've been a principal of a couple different buildings, assistant principal, dean of students, those kind of things. I've been a superintendent of schools as well. Those are kind of the highlights as far as my career went. And I've been brought in today to talk to you specifically about how to do hard things. And I hear that that's a little bit what y'all have going on. It sounds like it is. From talking to Mike, it's not so easy to sell hospice care to people who are struggling emotionally. That's a difficult task. I'm sure it's a high-stress job. You have goals that you have to meet. I already got to hear about those. There's a lot of pressure for you to succeed and sell in a moment when, if I'm on the receiving end of that, I want you to have a heart. And so that's something that I'm going to talk to you about today. It's about all these the A's in life: the pay attention, your attitude, accountability, and then action. And so how you do hard things is together. You do them together. This isn't. I'm an old teacher, so I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to make it a mystery up here. I'm connecting dots. I'm dotting I's, crossing T's. We do it together as teammates, and that's how that happened. That's how it does happen. 91% of us, though, fail. 91% of us fail to achieve those big goals that we set out to accomplish. Those big New Year's resolution type goals, 91% of us struggle to accomplish that. In fact, a big chunk of us fail inside the first week, right after we made that goal. 98% of us struggle and fail to accomplish our life goal. So that big moment, that thing that we always dreamt that we'd accomplish someday, 98% of us struggle and fail to do that. In my life, as Mike brought up, I played a lot of football growing up when I was a kid, and I learned a lot of really valuable lessons. The first time I was exposed to those lessons were on a football field. In Greeley, where I played at the University of Northern Colorado, I captained the 92 Bears. And it's important to note that, this isn't our resume thing, but leadership's a skill. Leadership's a skill that you have to practice on the regular. And so getting selected to be a captain is not an accident. In my life, it's happened over and over and over. I was captain of the football team in high school. I was captain of the junior varsity team in high school. I was captain of the track team in high school. I was captain of the football team in college. These are things this is a skill. Leadership is a skill. And you have to put yourself out there, and you have to pay attention to those A's that I went over first. Now, one of those big lessons I learned came in an unlikely time for me when I was out there on that football field in Greeley. Now, I'm going to be real deliberate about this. There's a punt team that's out there, and that's because our offense didn't get a first down. They failed to score a touchdown, and we've got to kick the ball now to the other team. Now, I'd run out there on the field, and that was my job, to run down there and tackle the guy that we kicked the ball to. I was pretty decent at it. After a while, they game planned me. And wouldn't you know it, about week 6, 7 rolled along, and the guy peels back and blocks me right in my ear hole and knocks me unconscious on the field. And there I am, captain of the team, out. And here's where the lesson is. When I struggle to my feet and I'm woozy, and I walk off the field, I headed to the wrong sideline. It was my teammates who grabbed me by the arm and led me back home, who led me to my own sideline. And there's a lesson in that, and I didn't realize it was such an important lesson when it occurred. But decades later, I would be covering punts for School District 49 as superintendent of the power zone, 5 schools that fed into Vista Ridge High School where they would graduate out there, when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis about 12 years ago. And so for about 4 years, it was a straight descent. I was one of those people, I thought, that found my way to the cane, to the wheelchair, to the bed, and I was never coming out. That was what it looked like life was for me. Initially, the numbness down my legs, down my arms, gave way to tingling, that numbness, that when your foot falls asleep kind of sensation. But that rapidly turned to what I call white noise, this ugly feeling that's in your body that doesn't quite feel like when your foot's asleep. It's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good. And that gave way really quickly to daily electrocutions. Very, very hard pain to deal with, down my legs, down my arms, that trigeminal neuralgia across my face. They call that the suicide nerve. I can explain in detail why they call it that. It's the most brutal pain that you can imagine. If you've ever had a toothache and you need to get that tooth extracted for whatever reason, imagine if you had a dentist that was hired specifically just to torture you, and that's what that person did, and multiply that times 10, and that's what trigeminal neuralgia feels like a little bit. MS is hard. It's hard. I remember 13 weeks in bed where I didn't get out of bed, just struggling to move, having a hard time. I remember going into the pain doctor's office to have the morphine pump installed into my stomach that was going to be there the rest of my life, because this doesn't go away. There's no cure for MS. And it was in that moment, right there and right then, where I'm here talking to you, where I'm sharing to you today that I had made a mistake. In that moment, I was surrounded by the best team I had ever worked with in my entire life. Brilliant people, principals that were doctors, highly educated folks. And I thought it was my job to be strong. And so I kept everything that was happening to me from them. And truth is they probably could have saved me from 4 years of what turned out to be hell. Now, they wouldn't have prevented it from happening, but they might have sped up the process in here a little bit quicker, and I would have gotten to the stage I ended up 4 years later, where I started really playing offense with this disease. Oh, a lot of stuff. My goal today is to inspire you. I hope to inspire you today. I'm going to take your excuses from you. You don't get to have excuses that are in the realm of too much time, too much effort, too much anything. Because you can do more. There is more. If you just look inside, there is more. Your attitude impacts your ability to lead. And in this room, this is a highly competitive room. You're all super trying to be the best salesperson that you can be. You want to be number one. You don't want to be number two. You want to be the best one in here. And that lends itself to a highly competitive environment right here amongst you. Yet it's you who have to have each other's backs and encourage one another so that this entire team can lift itself up. Because if you're not doing that as a group, none of you individually can be the salesperson that you want to be. That's not possible. So your attitude impacts literally everything. It impacts your ability to hold yourself accountable and your teammates accountable. Because if you come to work every day with a negative attitude, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear what you have to tell me. But if you come every day and you're uplifting and it's intentional, there's a deliberate effort on your part, it's purposeful to bring that attitude, now you have a chance with me. I might listen to you. I'm encouraged to want to listen to you. You're somebody I might want to do that with. Your attitude doesn't just impact your ability to hold people accountable. It impacts every little thing you do. Everything you do when you walk into the office. Now, I've spent time with Mike and I've heard him on the phone and have a good day, bless you, all these things that I hear come out of his mouth. They're important, all those things. And he does that to his buddies too. I can tell you I'm one of them. That's normal stuff. And that's important. That's important stuff. I'm going to ask that everybody keep those things in mind because your attitude really does create your own energy when you walk in a room. Now, when I was a superintendent of schools, I did not have an office. So I was very deliberate about not having an office. I was the only school administrator in District 49 down in Colorado Springs that didn't have an office. And it was because my job was to be seen. My job was to talk to people out in the hallways and find out what kind of issues there were and see if I could solve them. And I had 5 schools to be in. And I made sure that I was in every single teacher's classroom every single week. Now that got weird for them when I first started doing it, because all of a sudden there's a new boss and he's rolling through my classroom every week. But it got to be pretty comfortable after a while, I think, if you talk to people, because it just is who I am. It was important for me to be able to allow them to feel my attitude every day and know that when they look me in the eye and they say, hey Bob, there's this issue, and that I was going to do something about that I was going to get that thing handled for them. That follow through was an important thing. So I want to talk to you about a guy that was, in my mind, one of the best examples of this. I call it, I gave it a term and I named it after him. His name's Greg Dahlberg. And anybody who's Dahlberg-like, if you're Dahlberg-like, that means you might have a trait that I want to emulate. Something that you do, I'm really admiring, and I'm going to get as close to you as I can when I see those people out in the world. I really want to pay attention to those people. Greg Dahlberg was one of those guys. So let me tell you what gave him that. Why did I give him that moniker? So we opened Mesa Ridge High School some almost 30 years ago. It's where Mike coached football last year. And before we opened that school, we had to order desks and chairs, right? Well, those desks and chairs didn't come until the Friday at 5 o'clock before we had to open school on Monday. And they all came unassembled. Unassembled. So Greg Dahlberg, being Greg Dahlberg, immediately asked, how can I help? What can I do to help? And so Friday night, he's there with the custodian. Saturday night, he's there all weekend putting desks and chairs together so that when we walked in on Monday, we all had desks and chairs for all our students to be Dahlberg-like. Later in my career, I was fortunate enough to work for another man named Ted Bauman. Ted Bauman was the superintendent of schools in the Lewis Palmer School District in Monument, Colorado, and one of the kindest humans you will ever meet. He's a person that he already met you, and I know I already met you, and I already forgot your name. Is your name? So, Savina, right? Okay, so Ted would have remembered your name. He would have gone through it. You're Savina, and he would have known everybody's name in 30 seconds. He was that guy. I'm not that guy. But man, I admired that. I admired that about him. And he did all kinds of things that separated himself from the other leaders. It's why he ended up being the superintendent of schools. Let me tell you about one of the things he did that was, I think, pretty impactful. So I'm hired, new dean of students, low guy on the totem pole as far as administrators go. September 26th rolls around, it's my birthday, and I go to my mail, and sure enough, there's a card from the superintendent of schools. And I'm thinking, wow, That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. This guy wrote me a handwritten card. He took the time to do that for his whole administrative team. That's what I'm thinking. And that would have been cool if that's what he was doing. But that's not at all what Ted was doing. Ted wrote a handwritten card to every single human being in the district that worked there. Every bus driver, every lunch lady, every para, every teacher, everybody. Whoa, whoa. That's leadership. Because if I'm going to lead you somehow, some way, I've got to share with you that I love you. Love is action. It's the right word. There is not a substitute word. It's the right word. You have to move. You have to act. So if you're going to love me and you're going to care about me, you actually have to do something. Boy, I wanted a piece of that. Well, I wanted to be like that when I grew up, right? So when I got my chance and I'm a brand new principal at Falcon Middle School, I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. Here we go, I'm doing this. So I pulled my campus supervisor aside. His name's Johnny Grimaldo. Mike and I went to high school with Johnny. He was a wonderful wrestler, really superhuman good guy. And I said, Johnny, come in here, man. I got a job for you. I need you to take a picture of everybody in the building for me. Everybody in the building doing what they do. So every teacher teaching, every secretary answering phones, typing stuff up, all the lunch ladies serving up food and cooking food, all that stuff, the custodians cleaning up. I need all that. I need a picture of everybody doing what they do. He's like, yes, boss, I'm on it. Week later, sends it to my computer. I've got all these pictures. Send a secretary down to Walgreens, get them all printed off. I've got 150 pictures on my desk now. All my employees doing what they do. Now, I was real deliberate about this. I had the HR guy in my office. My secretary knew. My secretary knew the HR guy was coming. And we have this meeting every year. It's the meeting where beginning of the school year comes. I have 2,000 kids, and I'm going to need another teacher. I need another secretary. I need this. I need that. And I'm asking the HR guy for a little bit of relief. It's that meeting. HR guy leaves. My secretary knows that was the meeting we just had. I was real deliberate about this. Karen, come in here real quick. Karen comes in. Yes? I'm going to need an emergency contact for everybody in the building. I need parents' home address and phone numbers of everybody who works here. And she knows the HR guy just left. She's like, yes, sir. Now, my secretary, she was a West Point grad. And if you know anything about schools and education, no one ever argues with the principal secretary anyway. But no one ever argued with Karen. And I set Karen up because she knew the HR guy was just in there, and she's like, yes, sir, she's on it. She's in everybody's face. He needs it right now. There's no argument here. So we're getting all the addresses. And when you know it, I'm around my desk, I have all these pictures, and I've cut them into postcards now. And I've addressed them all. It is Christmas time. And I'm going to send a postcard to everybody who works in my building. And I'm going to send it to their mom and their dad. And I'm going to tell them how grateful I am that their son or their daughter is in my building, breaking their back for me, working hard for the kids. Wow, what a cool thing. I'm still reaping the benefit of that. That was 15 years ago, I think, when I sent those postcards out. I still get phone calls on Christmas. That was the coolest thing. You gotta tell them you love them. I don't know how you do it, but you've got to find a way. And the people you need to do that with, the people you serve. Those people you serve are those people you're selling hospice to. And they've got to know you care. Your follow-up is different. Accountability begins in the mirror. It begins in the mirror. It's like the airplane oxygen. When it falls, you've got to suck a little air first before you can help your partner next to you. You have to do that with accountability too. It starts with you, and with you, each of you. I'm talking specifically about what do you do to take care of you? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Because you're in these high-stress jobs where you're expected to sell, to a bunch of people who might not even want to hear from you or see you or talk to you. Right? That's tough. So it's a high stress deal. You can't do that unless you have each other's backs. You can't do that unless you have each other's backs. This team is either going to be a rock star team that gets it done together, or it's going to scrap and fight and claw and fight each other all the way through, and you're not going to get done what you want to get done. It's a choice. It's literally a choice. You decide with your attitude every single morning, right when you wake up. So 8 years ago, after 4 years of straight descent with my MS diagnosis, I made a decision to go pro. That's what I call it. I went pro. And what that meant for me was I'm getting off all these prescription drugs, because there's a prescription for every symptom that you could possibly have, as you probably know, doing what you do. And it gets really easy to get into that pharmaceutical drift. And so it took a legit effort to choose differently. And again, I had to go out because I didn't have a team anymore, and I had to go recruit teammates. Because to be able to get done what I needed to do, I needed help. I needed help. Because what I was about to do was I was going to defy all the doctor's orders. They're going to tell me that, boy, Bob, every time your body heats up, you are going to feel those symptoms. You are going to get electrocuted every single day. That's what happens when you heat up. So stay out of the sun. That's what I was hearing. Don't work out anymore. That's what I was hearing. And I decided, no, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to wade through it and see what happens. And what I found out what happened was that I triggered all those crazy symptoms as I was working out. But if I did all that, if I forced myself through it, for the rest of the day, I was pretty good. I was pretty good. I'm not getting that insane pain across my face throughout the day. I'm not getting shooting electric feeling down my legs, down my arms. I'm actually okay. And when I'm working out, my adrenaline's up and I can force myself through it. I can force myself through it. And so I couldn't do that without you. And specifically without Mike, because eventually I recruited Mike as one of my teammates. And in my life, what that means is I'm accountable to him. I'm accountable to him. And he knows what that means in my life, what I'm going to do every day. I'm going to put myself through this hell every day so that I'm okay. And if I'm not checking in with Mike on the regular, I know this, and Mike's just one of dozens and dozens of people, they're going to come checking. They're going to find out, where's Bob? What happened to you, Bob? Are you okay? Because I desperately wanted, 8 years ago when I started this, like, I wanted to be that Jocko dude. I was going to be the next David Goggins guy. Discipline, motivation, right? That's all I was going to be. The truth is, I couldn't be that guy. And when I dug into it, no one else is that guy either. Not even David Goggins and not even Jocko. Not Michael Jordan, not Kobe, none of them. All the people, the Elon Musk of the world that are out there just hitting home runs constantly, they have teammates helping them, encouraging them, holding them accountable. And that is where I'm at with you folks today. I hope that you will hold yourself accountable. And again, specifically what I want you to hold yourself accountable to is taking care of yourself. Oh man, how can you do that? Fit that in the schedule, right? Because you got all these goals to meet and all this time. I heard you have to be on call even on weekends during vacations and stuff. How are you ever going to take care of yourself? I don't know. But you better darn well figure it out. Because if you don't figure it out now, life's going to circle back around and take your legs out from under you, knock you unconscious while you're doing what you're doing. And so you have to take care of yourself. And so I'm here to encourage you to do that. The fact that I'm here suggests to me and to all of you that Mike wants you to do that. The people who who are making decisions really want you to take care of yourself. And so we get to this point of the day, and I'm at that place where I want to start talking to you guys. I want to hear from you. I want to know what it is you do to take care of yourself. So think about that for just a second, because I'm going to put you on the spot. So I'm giving you a fair warning. But before you do that, I want to just give you 10 seconds of this, because I've cut a little bit out of the presentation just for timing purposes. But I wade through all that pain with meditation. And leaders lead all the time, okay? Leaders lead all the time, not just at home, not just at work, everywhere. They lead everywhere. And so what I'm going to ask is that you hear me out on this, because some people hear meditation, they, that's a little weird. That's a little voodoo-ish. That's a little Eastern philosophy. That's a little different. There are reams of research with meditation. I don't present anything that's not fact-based. Look it up yourselves. It works. I go through extreme pain with mindfulness. I just practice mindfulness, and I do it every single day. And so that paying attention piece, that, remember I talked about that right at the beginning. Attention. You need to hold yourself accountable. You need to make sure that you are doing all those A's. All those A's you have to do. Action. It's a lot. It's a lot to put myself through that. With my teammates, without my teammates, I can't do it. And so I'm asking you guys to step into my world a little bit, put yourselves out there with accountability, be willing to put yourself out there with your teammates here in this room, share with them, this is what I'm going to do to take care of myself while we do this hard job together. And this is how I'm going to encourage you while you do this hard job. And this is how I'm going to help you by helping hold you accountable. Okay?